Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Psychosin project, and here via Skype I have got guitarist for the newly reformed American Head Charge, Ted Hallows. Hello there, mate.
Hi there, how are you?
I'm good, cheers. Now I've got to ask, obviously I'm sure you've probably been asked this about a million times already, why such a big gap between the releases?
Oh man, I couldn't really speak to that, and you have to ask the rest of the guys, but I know that, I think it's been almost 11 years since the feeding, and after recording that record and doing the touring cycle, Chad and Justin were writing songs for the new album, but lost touch with Cameron, and unfortunately Cameron was in a place where Chad said musically he just wasn't ready to contribute. So they ended up calling it a day and really taking a break from it. And then a couple of years later, Chad said out of the blue, he started receiving tracks back from Cameron with vocals on them. And he said it took him a couple of days to even open the emails because he just was like, hey, it was a couple of years later, and he said there was no hi, no hello, no pleasantries, just, tracks with vocals on his music, and that got the ball rolling again for them.
Excellent. So how did you yourself come to join the band?
I was working with my friend Josh at the time, who is a singer out of LA in Canada. He was singing for a band called Revolting Cocks at the time, and Josh was friends with Karma, the other guitarist in Head Charge. They were on hiatus during the time that I had met Karma, but Josh was recording a song with him and Jakey Lee, and he had asked if, I heard of Jake, and I said, yeah, I'd love to meet him. So we actually went over, and Josh and I were hanging out with Jake and Karma, and the four of us started working on a recording project that him and I were doing at the time. And Jake actually contributed to some of he did a solo on there. He played bass, and Karma played and did some engineering on it. And we just had a great time, the four of us working on this recording project for a good 6 months. And since then, Karma and I were friends. And he called me about 3 years ago and asked what I was up to, and I was basically just playing guitar here in Las Vegas and on the Strip, and he's like, do you want to do a run with Head Charge? And I said, yeah, I'd love to, it'd be great. And so we went out and did a tour together, and then he asked me to go to the UK, and from there it was kind of history,
Excellent, excellent. So really it was one of them opportunities you couldn't sort of pass up.
Exactly, just I really enjoy the music. All great guys in the band, and love touring and playing with them, and being on stage is a blast, and traveling, and just had to go for it, and it was a lot of fun, I'm glad that it all worked out.
Excellent. Now, obviously, since you've joined the band and the band has come back together and officially sort of started writing again, how have things been going with the band?
Really good. I mean, we did the crowdfunding campaign through Indiegogo. Excuse me, through Indiegogo a couple of years ago, and we did the crowdfunding to raise the funds to do the record, and we spent 2 months in Kentucky at a studio called Third Sky, and worked with Richard Eastling out there as engineering, and Dave Fortman flew in to help produce and mix it all. So we rented a house. We spent 2 months together living in this house and commuting, driving every day back and forth to the recording studio. I mean, 7 days a week. There was no partying. It was just getting there, recording, and spending time in the studio. And some of the songs, like I said, Chad and Justin had already worked on years prior with Cameron, and then some of the songs were just basically written right there on the spot too with Cameron and Chad. So it was a really great experience. And of course, it was stressful working on deadlines. We had to get out to a European tour with Soil at the time, I remember. So we were kind of backed right up to a deadline there, but we really did have a great experience and got a lot of the basic tracking done there at Third Sky.
Excellent, excellent. Now you mentioned about obviously the crowdfunding campaign. What was behind the decision to go for crowdfunding as opposed to maybe getting on a new record label and getting them to sort of help pay for the recording of the new album?
Sure. At the time, the band really was dead set on the do-it-yourself approach. And I remember Karma texting me one day and saying, "Hey, we got to do a new record. Can you help with the crowdfunding?" And I'm a technology geek, and I love like working on things like that. I had never done a crowdfunding campaign before,
Yeah.
and I did some research on it and looked at some of the bands that were successful and not so successful, and what campaigns they used, or what kind of platforms between like Kickstarter, Indiegogo, there's a few others, and decided to really do it and do Indiegogo. We put our budgets together as far as what the six of us needed as far as living expenses, food, travel, renting a recording studio, renting a house, all these different things that came into actually doing it yourself, and we made it happen. We like I said, we spent 2 months out there and doing a lot of the basic tracking in Kentucky. We weren't able to finish it there. We ran out of time, but at least we had that flexibility too. We weren't pushed up against any recording label studio or recording label deadlines. We actually were doing it ourselves, and it took us longer than expected, and the fans definitely have been patiently waiting. It's been almost 2 years now. So finally, March 25th, Tango Umbrella will be released.
Yeah, I know a fair few people can't wait for it, me included. Unfortunately, I've not had a chance to see you guys live. Hopefully, March will change that. Now,
Right.
what was I going to say? After so long away from recording and writing process, how was it? Was it an easy or difficult album to write?
Chris, our drummer, had talked to this, basically saying that it was kind of a rebirth for the band. He remembered all the time that they had leading up to writing The War of Art, the first record.
Yeah.
So he said it was kind of, in a way, the same with Tango Umbrella, because there had been almost 11 years since the feeding. We did release that EP Shoot in 2013, but aside from that, there was a lot of writing that had transpired over those years. So in pre-production, Chad came into the studio with a good skeleton structure of a lot of the songs, and then we would bang them out as a 6-piece and working with Chad on the musical kind of layout of it. But he really had a lot of it put together already. And then Cameron came in and did a lot of the melodies and lyrics that he had, some of them planned and some of them he just wrote right on the spot. I mean, Cameron actually came in and wrote a couple of the songs on Tango Umbrella, right on the spot in the studio while we were there, and they came out fantastic,
Excellent. Now, how has the band's sound evolved since the last album?
I think, listening to Tango, I think, I agree with what Chad has said. Is basically it's sonically is a mixture of the War of Art and the Feeding, somewhere in between there, and they, also with some more new experimentation. I remember being in the studio and we were working on a song called Antidote, and Cameron, his vocals on that are so unique and different, and Chad just commented while we were in there saying, "Wow, I've never heard Cameron sing like that before." And it's true, he's definitely taken it to another level, and the songs, God, every one of them I think is amazing and unique in its own right, and we had maybe we're close to 20 songs, I would think.
Yeah.
Maybe 16, 17, somewhere in there, and we would just kind of whittle them down and cut them down, and we actually ended up with 11 new songs on the record, and I think every one of them is awesome and kind of speaks for itself,
Excellent, excellent. Now, what's behind the name of the new album? Why have you decided to call it Tango Umbrella?
That actually was an idea from Chad. Chad was reading a book in his bathroom, he said, and he came across the phonetic NATO speak of tango uniform,
Yeah.
which in military speak basically means tits up, everything is fucked, and he really liked the sound of it, the imagery that could come along with it, but we didn't want to be completely on point with that alphabet, so we changed the U in uniform to umbrella to make it a kind of a interesting twist, and he really liked the imagery that came along with it. That's why the plane is flying upside down on fire, on the album cover, and kind of like Chad was saying that, this whole thing could go tits up at any moment, everything could be fucked, So he said it really fit, and I remember him mentioning to us on tour, and we all loved the name, and he was saying how, like, it doesn't sound like any type of, like, rock or industrial rock or metal album. It's kind of a very different and unique name, so...
Yeah, it's the kind of title that someone like Faith No More will come out with as an album title.
Right. Yeah, really, I dig it. And I love the imagery that came along with it. Sam Sheeran, the graphic artist, he had like full control over the album art design and all the pages, the inlays of it, and he really did a fantastic job of kind of bringing the tango umbrella to life,
Excellent. Now, when the band originally come out, they got unfortunately they got associated with the whole nu metal movement, which at the time was at its peak essentially. But
Right.
Do you feel that that's going to end up harming the band as they try to move on to pastures new, as it were?
No, I don't think so. We definitely, as a band, don't want to be just labeled as nu metal.
Yeah.
I think if you listen to Tango Umbrella, you're really not going to think nu metal. I mean, it's a really catchy rock, industrial rock, metal album, and I think it just stands on its own. I mean, it's very different, and it's hard to categorize it as one certain element, but it's true, like you said, the band did come out of those like that time frame.
Yeah.
And you have bands like Korn and Slipknot that are out of that era also, and still, working hard and being successful with it. And, call it what you may, if you want to label it as new metal. I mean, I've seen some websites already doing that, but also calling it industrial rock or metal, So I don't know. I think it's really hard to kind of put any kind of musical project into a box like that. I really don't want to do that for it,
Yeah, I mean, it always seems strange to me that American Head Charge got put under nu metal when obviously they had that strong Faith No More vibe, bit of Alice in Chains in there, bit of industrial, bit of everything else. It weren't just like, obviously the hip hop influence in there. So
exactly, man. So yeah, it's really kind of mind-boggling. You scratch your head, think like, how did that happen? But it did somehow, and hopefully, we could break out of that whole category, genre of it, and like I said, it'd just kind of speak for itself,
Yeah, well, I mean, they started drifting away from it on The Feeding, which is my personal favourite album so far. So it's obviously not heard Tango Umbrella yet, so we shall see how it goes, and hopefully can get away from that and just be seen as the sound being American Head Charge, which is obviously what you would like more than anything.
Yes, exactly.
Now, you're coming over to do a UK tour soon. Are you looking forward to it?
For sure, absolutely. I mean, we love touring in the UK. It's always a great time there. The crowd participation, the reaction. I mean, it's just it's amazing. Like when we get out there on stage and that energy and excitement, kind of we feed off of that and we feel it, And it really, it's just a great time touring the UK. I mean, I can't even, almost like hard to explain it, but it's such a great time, and I think rock is very much alive, not only in the U.S. but especially in England, and even going into nightclubs over there. I remember one UK tour we did. We were in Glasgow, Scotland, and we ended up at the Cat House, I think, or the Cat Club, and there was like an after party of maybe 500 kids like dancing to Marilyn Manson songs, and I was just blown away. Like I've never seen anything like that, because here in Vegas, if you go to a nightclub, you're going to hear the latest Kanye West single,
And that's the time you turn around and just walk straight back out.
exactly. But in the UK, I mean, it's definitely rock is very much alive, and they appreciate music, and we feel that, so it's always a blast going over there.
Excellent. Now, as a newer member to the band, when you first joined, did you find it difficult to keep the core sound of American Head Charge while still bringing your own fresh ideas into it?
No, I don't think it was difficult because, really I'm a guitar player, and I want to stay true to what they have written,
Yeah.
So I got in there, and I did a lot of woodshedding and just did my homework and worked hard at learning the songs and trying to get the tones right, making the sounds right for the album of the different songs that, were picked for the set list. And, I'm not a writer for the band, I'm just the guitar player, and Cameron and Chad are the primary writers of the band. Now, on this record, Karma and Justin, keyboard player, also contributed to it, where like Chris and I, drums, guitar, like we just all locked into the groove in the studio and just kind of went with the flow of what was coming out, mostly of Cameron and Chad, like what they were writing, and just working on the songs. And I think I stayed true to it in that sense because just basically vibing and off of their ideas, and really just working with them on it, and like I said, staying true to the sound and the tones that they have live is what I really try to accomplish.
Excellent. Now, what are the plans for the future of the band?
Oh man, a lot of touring. I think hopefully a good year and a half. I would think a good 15-month cycle, maybe maybe longer. But I know we have UK. We have following that we have a US tour. We're headlining here in the US. We're taking out Motograder, so psyched for that. We're looking forward to it. After that, hopefully another US run. And what we really want to do too on this album cycle is hit countries and even continents that we haven't been to, or haven't been to in a very long time.
Yeah.
Head Charge has toured the world supporting Slayer, Slipknot, Mudvayne. I mean, the last time they were in Japan, they were touring direct support for Slipknot, so it's been so many years since the band had been to Japan. And, places like Australia and New Zealand, we hear from fans a lot over there saying, hey, when are you going to come back down under, and that's something we really want to do this time. I hope that we can get to places that we've never been before, or to places that we haven't been in quite a few years,
Yeah. Now, finally, the last question, which is one I'm sure many Head Charge fans will be wondering, is will it be another 11 years for a new album after this one?
Hell no. If I have anything to do with it. I really, really don't want that. No. I think that the band has definitely picked up a lot of momentum since reforming, and everything, since the Shoot EP and now Tango Umbrella. And I hope that we can keep the momentum going, get out there and tour the hell out of this record. Like I said, get to places you haven't been to in a long time, or I've never been before. And after album cycle is done of touring, go right back into the studio again, and start the whole fun creative process all over again. And hopefully, in the next time we'll even have more time in the studio to really do more pre-production is what we want it to do, more writing, and then a little bit longer time recording, so we can knock out the next record and go out and do it again. That's definitely the goal.
Excellent. I'm personally glad to hear that, and I'm sure many other fans will be glad to hear that as well. Ted, thank you for joining us on the show tonight.
Thank you, Ronnie. Appreciate your time.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ted Hallows from American Head Charge.